Welcome back, everybody. We have another episode of Ben on Sports. We are continuing with our NFL weekly predictions. Sorry for getting this out a day late. It has been a busy week for me this week. I hope you guys understand. So, without further ado, we're going to get into our Week 14 review and our Week 15 predictions. Lot, a lot to talk about. We're going to try and get through it quickly so the episode isn't too long. Here we go. The first game of Week 14, the Thursday night game, was the Lions and the Packers. It was a great game. It was a close game. Lions keep finding ways to win 34-31. I thought the Packers played pretty well. The offense looked good. Obviously, need to get some more stops than they were. The Lions defense, I was right to be worried about it, but their offense made up for it. And the Lions pick up a massive divisional win. Pretty much guarantees the Packers can't win the division. They needed that game. Now they're 3 games back and don't have the tiebreaker, so it's going to be really tough. Still very, very much in the wild card race currently in the playoffs. I think they are going to make it, but sometimes it's nice to win your division and try and get a first round bye. Packers failed, but they have played a lot of really good teams close this year, even when they do lose, and have absorbed injuries to their starting quarterback. So no reason to be too doom and gloom about the Packers. And again, the Lions are just finding ways to win despite their injuries. Still tied with the Chiefs for the best record in the NFL and leading their division. Now, who did I pick? I did pick the Packers to go in Detroit Thursday night. I thought that the Packers passing offense would be on it because the Lions have so many injuries on defense, and I thought the Packers defense would get enough stops, and Packers defense didn't get enough stops. I think they scored enough points, they just didn't get enough stops, and I was wrong, starting off 0-1. Sunday afternoon football, the Jets take the Dolphins to overtime in Miami. The Jets keep finding ways to lose games. They might not be a serious team this year. Who would have thought? Like I said, I mean, obviously went to overtime. It was a close game. It felt like the Dolphins were about to lose and their playoff hopes were going to go up in smoke. And Tua led a great drive down the field, got the 2-point conversion, and then they kick a field goal to keep it tied. A very, very short drive at the end of the game to keep it tied. They were down 23-15, get the 8 points to make it 23-23. Jets kick a field goal. Miami kicks a field goal, and then Miami comes out, don't even let the Jets touch the ball in overtime to pick up the win. That was a big win for Miami. The spread was 6, so I guess it was right around there, a 6.5-ish, but I guess they kind of were there, even though the game went to overtime. But yes, an incredibly interesting game that was probably closer than a lot of people wanted it to be or thought it was going to be. The Jets are still going to jet. At this point, they might just shut down everybody now that they're officially eliminated and say, we can't make the playoffs. Why should we risk injuring guys for next year? Let's get a good draft pick and try one more time. Who did I pick? I did pick the Dolphins to win. Vikings and Falcons. Falcons, 3-game losing streak, no longer first place in their division. Kirk Cousins has looked awful. Those Michael Penix whispers are only going to keep getting louder the way Kirk Cousins is playing. And if they keep sliding out of playoff contention, you got to think maybe you need to do something to change it up. Maybe Penix is the answer. I don't think they're going to do it this week, but every week that Kirk Cousins has multiple interceptions and no touchdowns, you got to think it's getting closer because that offense has so much talent. That offense is driving down the field a lot just for Cousins to throw the ball away. Vikings still playing great defense. Still, the offense certainly looked good in this one, although, like I said, they were aided by some turnovers. Vikings, I picked them to lose a couple times, and I was right, but they're still holding strong, and I'm still kind of thinking, hey, when is the personally, I'm still asking, when are they going to start losing some games? And they haven't. They're finding a way to win with Sam Darnold. That defense, like I said, has been cooking most of this year. So we'll see if the Vikings can keep this flow and this rhythm going into the playoffs. Who did I pick? I did pick the Vikings at home. Giants and Saints. This game was honestly closer than I thought it was going to be. Giants miss a field goal at the end to send it to overtime at home, and with hopes of getting off this long losing streak. But honestly, the best thing for the Giants might be to keep losing so they get the best draft pick possible, maybe even the number one overall pick, and can start a rebuild. Saints pick up a win. I think they're too far out of the playoffs, but uh, so many injuries. I feel bad for them. Oh well, right? Can't really do anything about it. There's not a whole lot I have to say about this. It really wasn't a pretty game. Saints were the better team, and they picked up a road win here. Who did I pick? I did pick the Saints. Eagles and Panthers. What a shocking game. The Panthers look like they might be decent now. Not too many teams have been within one possession of the Eagles, so for the Panthers to be one of them this year is I don't usually believe in moral victories, but if you're a Panthers fan with the way things have gone the last 2 or 3 years, maybe you are taking moral victories. And this was a pretty good performance by them. Had a chance at the end. I've seen both teams on social media mad at the officiating. Usually, if both teams are mad at you, it usually is kind of a wash. But yes, the Panthers, great performance, close performance to one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and somehow the Eagles only scored 22 on them. If you're an Eagles fan, maybe you wanted a little bit more. But the most important thing is that you keep winning. You still only have 2 losses, still putting together a great season. Who did I pick? I did pick the Eagles to win. And Bryce Young is maybe playing him way into having another year as the Panthers quarterback because he has looked really good since coming back from getting benched. Steelers, Browns. The Steelers were ready for the Browns this time. It was much better weather. It wasn't in Cleveland. Steelers able to pick up a divisional win and kind of redeem themselves from losing the last game they played against the Browns. Steelers still have a difficult schedule ahead, but they're in good position at 10-3. We'll see if they can hold the Ravens off. They have a 2-game lead with 4 games left, so it'd be awfully hard for the Ravens to catch the Steelers. But when you compare the schedules, I think the Steelers is a little bit more difficult. Nice win here. The Steelers defense is still incredibly elite. It's really going to come down to, can Russell Wilson continue to get the offense to score enough points, especially against other teams with elite defenses? And there will be plenty of opportunity, at least 2 opportunities to see the Steelers in that situation. The Jameis Winston ride, it's still fun. Hasn't led to many wins, though. Browns probably wish it would lead to a win a couple more times, but I mean, maybe they're to the point where they're ready to restart a little bit too. If not restart, at least get a new quarterback, or I don't know. They're definitely an interesting team to watch as the offseason continues to come towards us. Who did I pick? I did pick the Steelers to win at home. So we're on quite a long winning streak right now after starting off 0-1. Buccaneers and Raiders. Raiders can't keep a quarterback healthy. Buccaneers win 15 points over a team that they should beat by 15 points. And the Buccaneers have worked their record all the way back to 7-6 to get first place. A couple weeks ago, they were 4-6, and the Falcons were 6-4, and the Falcons beat the Buccaneers twice, so it looked very dim, or didn't look very good for the Buccaneers' hopes at winning the division. But Buccaneers 3-game winning streak, Falcons 3-game losing streak, and now all of a sudden the Buccaneers are in position. They control their own destiny in regards to the division. Oh, how things can change in the NFL. Anyways, the Buccaneers looking good. This is not a whole lot to say here. I mean, yes, Aiden O'Connell got hurt. The Buccaneers defense forced some turnovers. Could have had a couple more with the balls barely touching the ground on some close interceptions, but they did the job. That's all you can do. Do your job, beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and we'll see what happens with the Buccaneers going forward. That offense certainly seems like it's clicking. They might have one of the best offenses in the NFL. I'm still a little bit worried when it plays elite defenses, but more on that later. And if you're the Raiders, you're kind of trying to lose games at this point, I think, because your team just isn't very good outside of Brock Bowers. Who did I pick? I did pick the Buccaneers. Moving on. The ugliest game of the week, which makes sense because it was my toilet bowl game of the week. I said I was going to pick the Jaguars if Trevor Lawrence would have been healthy, but he's not. So I thought the Titans were going to be able to hang around and win. And Mac Jones led the Jaguars to a win. I don't know if I could say Mac Jones led the Jaguars to a win. The Jaguars defense led them to a win, only giving up 6 points in an entire NFL game. That's a stellar performance. Mac Jones scored a touchdown, led the team to a game-winning drive late in the fourth quarter with a touchdown, only touchdown of the game. Jaguars win 10-6 in a game I don't know if they necessarily wanted or needed to win, but they won it anyway. But when you're a professional athlete, you're getting paid to win money, even if your team is trying to take, you're getting paid money to win. So even if your team is trying to take, you're still trying to win games. Not a lot to say about this. Two of the worst teams in the NFL. It was an ugly win for the Jaguars. Ugly wins still count as wins, but they might have hurt their draft position. So I don't know if how the Jaguars fans feel about that. There's not a lot of them for me to figure it out with, but certainly an interesting team to watch. Who did I pick? I picked the Titans. Cardinals, Seahawks, man. The Cardinals looked really good at 6-4, had won some big games. And they've just fallen off a cliff. I don't know if it was the bye week or what, but I feel like they've fallen off a cliff. I thought they were going to win this game, so that's a little bit of a spoiler. Seahawks, I don't want to say manhandled, but they won this game pretty good. They won it by quite a bit. Didn't seem too phased. And now the Seahawks are in the driver's seat for the NFC West. Who would have seen that one coming a couple weeks ago? They've endured a rough stretch in their schedule, and now they're winning games again. I still think the important thing for the Seahawks is how many stops can their defense get. I think the offense is good enough. They certainly have weapons all over the field. It's going to be how good can the defense be and how many stops they can get. And the defense played well enough against the Cardinals to get a win here. And now the Cardinals are in a predicament where now they're outside of the playoff picture. They're outside of the division picture by 2 games. They're going to need a lot of help to get in, and they're going to have to start winning games because they are just like the Falcons and are on a 3-game losing streak. Who did I pick? I picked the Cardinals because I thought this was going to be the game where they turn it around, reassert themselves as playoff contenders, reassert themselves as division contenders, and they were not able to do so. Moving on, the Rams and the Bills. Bills defense fell apart. I know some of the touchdowns, some of the scoring was from special teams and not necessarily the Rams offense, but the Rams still dropped 44 on a good Bills team that was supposed to have a good defense. The Rams look like they're getting better and better. The Bills scored 42, still lost the game. That's not a nice feeling. Not a good performance from the Bills, I guess, well, at least defensively. So that's a little bit concerning, but you would rather have lapses now rather than later. This definitely hurts the Bills' chances at getting a 1 seed. They were kind of 1 game behind the Chiefs, who do have some tough games left, on their schedule. Now it looks like it's going to be a lot harder to run them down. You're going to need a lot more help. So the 1 seed in the AFC might already kind of be decided with 4 weeks left. The Chiefs would have to lose a minimum of 2 more games. We'll see if that happens. But so not a good time to lose for the Bills, but at least you have film to watch. Your offense looked good, and you just need to figure out what went wrong with your defense. Massive win by the Rams. A loss here would have been awful for them, and they found a way to win. Even if it meant scoring a lot of points. Puka Nacua certainly had it going on with Matt Stafford. And now the Rams are back to a winning record at 7-6, firmly in the wild card hunt, only a game back of the Seahawks for the division. That was a huge win by the Rams. Even though I picked the Bills to win this game, I think most people did. I keep saying all year, I was big fans of the Rams earlier. I thought they were going to be, and I think they're finally starting to turn into the team that I thought they were going to be early. And you just hope it's not too late for them. But only being a game out of the playoffs and a game out of winning their division, that's certainly doable with 4 weeks left. So there's a lot to fight for in LA. And if you're the Bills, you just regroup. You already have your division clinched. I still believe they're the 2nd seed in the AFC. You just need to regroup and make sure you don't give up 44 points in a playoff game. Moving on, the 49ers and the Bears are exactly who I thought they were. This is my first victory lap of the week. Everybody was like, "Oh, look out for this Bears team. They're 4-2, and the offense hasn't even figured it out yet, and that defense looks really good." They didn't play anybody. The Bears didn't play anybody. They were never a serious team this year. The defense led them to wins against bad teams. As soon as they started playing the good teams with winning records, 500 teams, they started losing. They are now on, a 7-game losing streak? They are 4-9 after being 4-2. This Bears team is not who you thought it was. Caleb Williams playing better, but he is arguably in one of the better situations for rookie quarterbacks, and he hasn't looked better than Jaden Daniels. He hasn't looked better than Bo Nix. And in my opinion, he hasn't looked better than Drake May, who's doing roughly the same, if not better, in a much worse situation than Caleb Williams is doing. I'm not saying he's a bust yet. You can't call somebody a bust when they haven't even played their first year. I would even argue you can't really call somebody a bust after 2 years, especially unless they're playing especially awful, which Caleb Williams is not. I'm just saying it's been a slower start than most people thought it was going to be. And the Bears are not actually as good as they thought they were. Credit to the 49ers. They needed to pick up a big win after getting blown out last week, and they did pick up a big win in multiple ways. They're now 6-7, so they have an outside chance, but they still have a chance at the playoffs and the division, I would argue. Plus, they crushed the Bears. It was big in that sense because the first half was especially ugly. The Bears' offense didn't look like it showed up. Neither did the Bears' defense. Those first half stats were brutal for the Bears. And that's because of how well the 49ers played. Maybe the 49ers, this was a get-right game and they figured it out. And they're going to make a run down the stretch. Maybe it was just one game and they're going to come back down to earth. Who knows? I'm not trying to come down on Bears fans. I'm just saying expecting this team to make the playoffs was never realistic. And now it's just all about getting Caleb Williams ready for when the rest of the team is ready. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the 49ers. Chiefs and Chargers. Chargers with another one-possession loss to the Chiefs. It feels like every time they play, that's the situation, even with a new head coach. The Chiefs using devil magic to win. Have we confirmed it at this point? There's just no way a team can be as lucky as the Chiefs have been this year and has won games the way the Chiefs have won some games this year and still, like, they have one loss by 9 points, and then they have, like, every win is one possession, regardless if it's a good or a bad team. Last week they won because of a fumbled snap. The game was over. It was snap the ball one more time, run the clock down to 1 second, call a timeout. They were going to kick a field goal. The Raiders were, and they were going to beat the Chiefs. They fumbled the snap somehow, and then the Chiefs recovered it to win the football game. We have the first game of the season with the Ravens, where they're out of bounds by a toe. We have the blocked field goal game against the Broncos. And then this game, as time expires, the Chiefs kick a field goal off the upright, and it still goes through. I don't know who the Chiefs have on their side. I don't know if they're using all their luck up so they won't have any in the playoffs. But when you look at, I don't know, if you're a point differential person and you look at the point differential, it's not saying 11 in one team or 12 in one team at this point. If you look at the eye test, you could argue they don't deserve to be 12 in one, but they are. I don't know if it's they devil worship. I don't know if it's truly that they are, this team has a higher power shooting for them. I don't know if what it is, but the amount of games the Chiefs have won in inexplicably rare and unlikely ways, just to have it be done this many times that it's not even the playoffs, is incredible. I guess we can applaud them for that. It sucks for the Chargers. They now join a plethora of 8-5 teams in the AFC. And wow, the Chiefs, man. If they keep this luck up, it's going to be hard to believe they can't win the Super Bowl, because when you're this lucky, things seem to happen for you, right? So, Chargers coming oh so close to a big win. Don't get it. Both of these teams still in the playoff hunt, and the Chiefs, after winning this week and the Bills losing, look like almost certain to get the 1 seed and getting the first round bye. I did pick the Chiefs to win this one. I didn't think it was going to be that close, but at this point, I should expect every Chiefs game to be close. Moving on to the Monday Night Football game. How many people, this was the last week of the fantasy regular season. How many people played against Ja'Marr Chase or had Ja'Marr Chase? I had Ja'Marr Chase in one of my leagues. I know out of the 4 leagues I'm in, I have a first round bye in 3 of them, and I'm in the playoffs in the other one. So pretty good year for me personally for fantasy football. Not over yet. We need to win some championships. But Yeah, I really hope you weren't playing against Jamar Chase. You thought you were making the fantasy playoffs, and then the guy had one person left. It was Jamar Chase. You had a big lead, and Jamar Chase just completely wrecked the Cowboys secondary. Hopefully that wasn't you, especially because this was the Monday Night Football game. Yeah, I mean, this was a game the Bengals should have won. I know their defense is not good at all, but the Cowboys were on their backup quarterback, and you were going to have opportunities. And it looked like the Cowboys were going to have an opportunity to win this game until one of the most bad luck punts I've seen in a long time. You block it, but then one of your downfield guys touch it, and then you can't recover it because all the Bengals were there and they jump on it, and then they ended up winning the game. Uh, very, very unfortunate moment in the game where it felt like the Cowboys were going to have all the momentum and the chance to win the game. And you can't get mad at somebody for blocking a punt. That's what they're out there to do. It's just everything after that was a cascade of unfortunate events. Cowboys lose another one. Their playoff hopes are definitely done. Bengals, they should be done, but I guess they're not. They're still at 5-8. They can still make it. They just need a lot of help. Big win from the Bengals, and they finally hold somebody to just 20 points, which for the Bengals defense is an achievement in itself. And who would have thought Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are still cooking in the passing game? I did pick the Bengals to win this one. Finally recovering from some losses with the Sunday night and Monday night football games. So let's take a look at my weekly records. You can see week 14, 9-4. Not bad, not great. I would like to be better. I think I'm really going to have to get hot the last 4 weeks. Our record is a 70% winning percentage, and currently we're still in the high 60s. So I'm going to need to get super hot down the regular season. We need 12, 13, 14 win weeks. I say 14. I haven't even won 14 games in a week. I've won 13 and 12, but I haven't won 14. But we're going to need a lot of those high win weeks if we want to hit our goal of having a 70% winning percentage here. We're over 2/3 still, not by a lot, but slightly. We're still over 2/3. So we're close. I'm close. Let's see if I can get hot the last couple weeks of the season. Here we go. Just like we did last week, we're gonna the rest of the series. We're gonna keep looking at the playoff seeding. Like I said, Chiefs have opened up a 2-game lead. Bills have already clinched their division, and Steelers can still not finish in their division, but the AFC North looks primed to get the 3 seed, whether it's the Ravens or the Steelers. Texans have been struggling a little bit. Maybe they figure it out coming out of the bye. And then your wild card race has 3 8-5 teams. The Bengals, like I said, are still in it at 5-8 technically. And then the Colts and the Dolphins are both 2 games back. Both of the Colts have what might be the easiest schedule in the NFL left. And the Dolphins have a big game against the Texans this week. We'll discuss a little bit later. But the Dolphins, if they win the next 2 weeks, because those are the 2 hardest games they have left, they could really, really make a push for those playoffs if they can get to 8-7. AFC playoff picture, again, it's likely we know the 7 teams, but I think this week will offer a lot of clarity, especially because the Dolphins play the Texans and the Broncos play the Colts. This is the last good team the Colts will play the rest of the season. So if they pick up a win and get to 7-7, and the Broncos are at 8-6 with the team schedules left, that could be something to look out for. And I would also like to say, the Colts could very, very well catch the Texans. They're separated by 2 games, and the Texans beat the Colts twice. But for those of you who don't know, the Texans, their last 4 games are the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Titans. And the Titans should be a win, but it's in Tennessee, and the Titans have already beaten the Texans in Houston somehow. So they can't overlook that game. But the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Ravens are all games they could very well lose. They could very well win. And the Colts only have 1 difficult game. So there is reason to believe that the Colts could catch the Texans and put the Texans in a wild card scenario. And that could be very bad for the Texans. For the Texans, I mean, they're going into their bye week very, very cold. I think the Texans right now are the most interesting team in the playoff hunt because they're in the easiest division, because they haven't been playing well. It's all going to come down to how well they come out of this bye week. If they come out and they're still slow and they don't look great, they could be in trouble of missing the playoffs altogether. We'll see, though. That's a lot of big ifs, and as you can see, there's a lot of 8-5 teams hanging out. Let's also see if the Ravens can run the Steelers down, because the Steelers have, I don't think they have a guaranteed or easy win the rest of the season. And here you see in the NFC, there's still a tight race for the 1 seed. Lions and Vikings could both get it. They're in the same division, so the winner of the NFC North could get it. The Eagles are sitting there at 11-2. I don't think anybody else has a chance other than those 3 teams at the 1 seed in the NFC. Seahawks, 1 game lead over the Rams for the division, 2-game lead over the other 2 teams. We'll see if the Seahawks can hold on going down the stretch. And the Buccaneers, they have a tough game or 2 left. I think I would rather have the Falcons schedule coming down, but the Falcons, all they have to do is be 1 game better than the Buccaneers, and they're automatically in the playoffs by winning their division. The Packers, I think, are pretty much locked into the 6th seed already. Maybe they can catch the Vikings. I do still believe they play a game against them, but 2 games with 4 weeks, the way the Vikings have played this season, is going to be difficult. And the Commanders need to be very, very careful. I know that they have played well and they had a great start to the season, and I don't know what their schedule looks like the rest of the year. I know they still have to play the Eagles once, but the Rams look, after last week, look really good. The Rams are kind of hot because they're on a 2-game winning streak, and they're only 1 game back. So if I'm the Commanders, being that gatekeeper of the playoffs, I'm very, very worried because there's a lot of good teams chasing me. Also in this wild card hunt, we have to look at the Cardinals and the 49ers, and I do think whoever's second in the NFC South between the Bucs and Falcons can also make a run. But like I said, I'm not feeling comfy about it if I'm the Commanders. Certainly going to have to hold off a lot of teams that might be a little bit better than you down the stretch. All right, that was our Week 14 review. Let's get into Week 15. It is the same symbols as always. It's the same symbols you know to look out for. So without further ado, let's get into a 16-game slate for Week 15. A top 5 matchup of the week on Thursday night. That I feel like the matchups are either really good or really bad. A couple weeks in a row now, we've had a top 5 matchup on Thursday night. Divisional matchup. 49ers at home against the Rams, and the way both teams played last week, I have no idea who to pick. Part of it for me might depend on who's running back for the 49ers, but also the 49ers are a running back lab. They just always have at like 3 good running backs on the roster at one time. I don't know how it's possible. I don't know how they do it all the time. No matter how many guys get hurt, it feels like they still have 2 more behind them. I don't know if they're building them. I don't know what it is. The 49ers are dealing with some injuries. I mean, the Rams have dealt with some injuries this year. I think without injuries, these teams could both and would both be higher seeded. But you can't control injuries. These teams haven't felt sorry for themselves. They're both in playoff and depending on the Seahawks schedule, both of these teams could probably still win the division. The Rams looked really good. That passing attack is looking good, which has me a little bit worried for the 49ers. I think if there is a weakness on this 49ers team, it is pass defense, but it's still not a massive weakness. This is really a 50-50 toss-up game to me. And I don't know. Coming into this week, I would have told you the Rams because the Rams have been playing better than the 49ers the last couple weeks. But the 49ers looked really good against the Bears. And I know I don't think the Bears are good, but it was a good sign to see them out and physical and running the ball, setting up play action with George Kittle, all kinds of that stuff that make the 49ers good historically under Kyle Shanahan. And you know what? The 49ers are at home on Thursday Night Football, and I think I'll go ahead and pick the 49ers regardless of whether Guerrero is healthy or not, even though I do think it would be incredibly helpful for him to be healthy, at least healthy enough to play. It would not shock me if the Rams win this game. This game is going to come down to the wire. I am confident in that. 2 teams fighting for their playoff lives, a rivalry game in prime time. Everybody should watch this game on Thursday, and I think it's going to be one of the best games of the week. Like not just top 5, top 2 or 3. I think right now I'm going to go with the 49ers winning this game in a very tight affair. I think. That's where we'll leave it. And as you can see, these are my bad luck teams of the week. Both of these teams are, I think, are top 6 teams in the NFC when healthy, and they just haven't been healthy this season. I think both of these teams have very good players and very good ability, and it's arguable. It's just a sad thing for both of these teams to both be out on the outside looking in the playoffs due to the injuries and some of the other struggles they've had. All right, Panthers and Cowboys. This is an interesting one, but neither one of these teams can make the playoffs. They're just playing for pride at this point. Panthers have looked really, really good the last couple of weeks. Cowboys have not. Well, I guess the Cowboys did get a pick up a win, but a win they were favored to get at home against the even worse Giants team, and they played the Bengals close, much like everybody else has. Not a lot to say about this game. It's not my toilet bowl game of the week. I'll give you that spoiler, but it's also not a great game. If anything, I'm watching this game for the Panthers to see if their better play keeps up, and I think it does. And I think the Panthers should get their 4th win of the season. The Panthers have been playing really, really well the last couple of weeks. I think it's going to keep up. I think they're going to be able to beat Dallas with a backup quarterback. Dallas's defense has been shaky. It might be a big Hubbard game. Maybe Bryce Young if Bryce Young keeps playing well, they can definitely win this game. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the Panthers to win. Browns home against the Chiefs. The Browns do love hijinks, and they do play well at home. I do expect this to be another game that the Chiefs narrowly win because I think Jameis Winston might have a fun day against the Chiefs. And like I said, at home, the Browns like to be spoilers. However, everything that is working in the Browns' favor, I don't think it's stronger than the Chiefs' black magic. And I think the Chiefs are obviously the better team. Look at their records and the fact that they've won the last 2 Super Bowls. I do think the Chiefs win this game, but I think it's going to be really close, and I expect some craziness from Jameis Winston and just really craziness in general from both of these teams, the way their seasons have gone. I'm going to pick the Chiefs in a game that might be tighter than some people expect, or maybe you expect it to be tight because of the way the Chiefs have been all season. This was almost a top 5 game of the week between the Texans and Dolphins. There's a lot of really good games this week, so this is probably like 5B, and I gave 5A the 5th star. This might be one of the better games that, so far out of the games we reviewed, it's definitely the best 1 o'clock game, so if you're bored at 1 o'clock, I would recommend watching this. Dolphins, a loss here probably means their season is over. So they need this. This is essentially a playoff game for the Dolphins. The Texans are coming off of a bye week. They're at home. They've been on a cold stretch. Maybe the bye week is what they need. I think this game is going to be incredibly close. I can see a way where the Dolphins win this game and pick up a big win on the road against a division leader and maybe silence some doubts. Granted, it's Houston and they play in a dome, so maybe it won't silence the cold weather stuff. The Texans win against the quality team as the Dolphins because with Tua Tagovailoa healthy, the Dolphins are a quality team. The Texans could maybe start to turn their momentum around in time for a very tough stretch and in time for the playoffs. This is going to be a close, nail-biting game. I'm worried about Miami's defense. Miami's defense has gotten worse throughout the year. If it's the Miami defense from the first part of the season, I think I would pick Miami here, to be truthful. But it's not, even with a Texans bad offensive line, I think they are able to score enough points. I think the Texans are really going to be, I think this is going to be a big Joe Mixon game. Miami, even when they were playing well, sometimes struggled with the run. I see the Texans just trying to be tougher and physical on the offensive line and just trying to run it. You double team Sealer, you double team Sealer and Campbell, or chip one, double the other. Those are their 2 guys in the middle. They're big run stoppers. And I don't think their edge is going to play very well. Maybe Bradley Chubb comes back for the Dolphins, but I'm trying to keep these games at the same time. I just think this game is really interesting. I think Tua can have a big day. The Texans defense loves to blitz. Miami's offense has some injuries, and it might not be that great to begin with anyway. Texans are definitely able to rush the quarterback. They're definitely going to bring heat. But this season, Tua Tagovailoa has been really, really good against blitzes, and he's been absolutely phenomenal since coming back from his concussion. Look, I would say he's been the best quarterback in the NFL since coming back from his concussion. We'll see if his stellar play continues. If he doesn't have a great game, I don't see how the Dolphins can win. I'm going to go Texans, but it's like 55-45, if you know what I mean. Like another game that truly is a toss up. And who would I think it's going to come down to which offensive line blocks better, truthfully. But just because Texans are at home and coming off of a bye week, I'll go ahead and I will pick the Texans. I don't feel great about it. Jaguars and Jets, 2-3-10 teams. So not a good game, obviously. Two teams that are underperforming their expectations. The Jaguars are getting whispered as a playoff team before the season from several notable national media presence. Everybody loved the Jets, even though I told them don't love the Jets. Nobody listens to me when I talk about the Jets. I do think, however, the Jets win this game. Trevor Lawrence ain't going to be back this week. Mac Jones led the team to a win last week against a 3-win team, but this 3-win team is better than last week's 3-win team, if that makes any sense. I think the Jets are going to get stops. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to score. That offense for the Jets has been cooking a lot recently, and I think they're going to keep cooking, score some points, beat the Jaguars on the road. Still don't think it's worth watching because it's not two teams that matter a whole lot. In fact, I gave it my toilet bowl game of the week because who wants to watch 3-10 teams play each other? Not me, especially when one is on their backup quarterback. If Trevor Lawrence was healthy, I'd definitely be more interested just because it's two teams that are still playing their highly paid quarterbacks, two teams that were supposed to be playoff contenders, and they're playing for pride and who can get the better draft pick at the end of the year. So that would have been interesting. But Mac Jones versus Aaron Rodgers, whatever. If you're going to miss a game, definitely miss this one. No sense in watching it. Jets, I am going to pick the Jets, but ugly game here. Saints and Commanders in New Orleans. New Orleans is not an easy place to play. And I actually really, really, really like the Saints to win this game. I really like this spot. The Commanders haven't been playing as well as they did at the beginning of the season. They're not playing bad, but I thought the Saints defense was going to be able to get some stops. And I don't always 100% believe in the Commanders defense. So I was like, man, I really, really like the Saints to win in this spot. And then I had a realization. Derek Carr isn't playing. If Derek Carr was playing, I think I'd pick the Saints in this one. Derek Carr is probably not going to play. That's my caveat. Which I've said multiple times this year. If Derek Carr's healthy, I'm picking the Saints. If he's not healthy, I'm not picking him. I'm pretty sure he's not going to play. They said it's a week-to-week injury, though that may even take him out the rest of the year. So I'm going to pick the Commanders. They are the better team. Saints on the backup quarterback. I still think this game might be a little bit close. No, I don't. By the time the second half is without Derek Carr, the Saints offense just is not going to be able to score enough, and the Saints defense is going to get tired, and then the Commanders are just going to score at will. So yes, I'm picking the Commanders to win this game. Giants Ravens, not a whole lot to say here. The Ravens, pretty darn good team. I think they're better than their record shows. Giants, not a good team, really bad team. Even though the Giants are at home, maybe they mess around and beat the Ravens. That would obviously be a funny outcome. But I don't think that's possible. I think the Ravens win. I think the Ravens win by a lot of points, and they try and use this as a get-right game to get ready for some tough games. They still have the Steelers. They still have the Texans, and use it to get ready for games like that. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to win by a lot. Giants will be lucky to get to 14 points. Maybe they hit 10. Maybe they only hit 6. This Ravens defense is good, and this Ravens offense – I can see a game where Derrick Henry gets a lot of rushes, a lot of yards with a couple of touchdowns. Not a whole lot to say. Obvious who everybody should pick. I'm going to pick the Ravens in a blowout on the road. Titans Bengals. The Bengals defense is just bad enough where the Titans could mess around and get a win here. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Titans are going to be able to outscore the Bengals because regardless of how good your defense is, the Bengals find ways to score points against you. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are having one of the best seasons I've seen in a while from a quarterback wide receiver duo. And the Titans, I don't think have the firepower on defense to stop it. I do think the Titans score some points here because the Bengals defense is that bad, but they're not going to score as many as the Bengals. Bengals should win this game, although there is a slight avenue where a lazy or a Bengals team that comes out slow here loses this game. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. Bengals win this one over the Titans. Cardinals need a rebound, a loss here, and they'll be on a 4-game losing streak, 2 games under 500, and probably out of the playoffs. They're at home against the Patriots team that's playing better, but they're still not good. It's a game they should win. It's a game they have to win if they want to have any hope at the playoffs or their division. I'm going to pick them to win, but this is a game where the Cardinals from a month ago, 6 weeks ago, blow the Patriots out. I don't know if they're that same team. I do think the Patriots are getting better and better with Drake May at quarterback. The defense is still playing good. I think the Patriots can hang around for a little bit, but eventually the Cardinals are going to pull away. And I see this between like 2 to 3 touchdowns, 14 points, 17 points by the end of the fourth quarter. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if the Cardinals just roll over and die because they've had a rough couple of weeks and they don't feel like they can do anything. And then because they roll over and die, the Patriots win. But I don't think that would be this week. I think they would have needed one more loss in a row for that to happen. Cardinals get back to 500 and the Patriots, I think, look good for portions, but eventually get overpowered by the Cardinals. Broncos and Colts, maybe the most interesting game, maybe one of the most consequential of the playoffs in terms of who's going to make the playoffs. Broncos at home against the Colts. I still don't think the Colts are actually a 6-7 team. I don't think their record is as good as it entails. The Broncos are still surprising people, but they're at least playing well. Broncos are going to win this game at home. They have a great defense that's going to make it hard on that Colts offense to score. And the Colts offense is not going to get enough stops on the Broncos. The Colts defense is not going to stop the Broncos offense enough. I think the Broncos win this game, send the Colts to 6-8, making their road to the playoffs much more difficult, and it would put the Broncos at 9-5, which would put them in a really good spot, even if it's not guaranteed. However, if the Colts win this game, the Colts are now in play, in my opinion, with a Colts win and a Dolphins win. The Colts are in play for the division. They're in play for the wild card. And the Broncos, I think, miss the playoffs in that scenario because the Dolphins or the Colts won, I think, will outpace them to end the season. I almost feel like this is a must-win game for both teams. The Broncos need this because of how difficult their schedule is coming up. And they need to be moving the right direction. They need to get wins while they can if they want to make the playoffs. And this is a must-win game for the Colts because a win here could put them in a position where they could win their division and put them in a position where they could very easily walk into the wild card. So this is almost a playoff game before the playoffs. In a lot of aspects, it's a must-win game for both teams. But I just think I just don't see the Colts scoring nearly enough as they're going to need to against a good Broncos defense. Broncos win this one at home and put the Colts in a tough scenario. This is another top 5 game of the week. Lions home against the Bills. And games like this are why it's so important that the Bills needed that win against the Rams, because now they're on the road against an even better team in the Lions, looking to rebound and keep the 2 seed and keep their slim hopes at a 1 seed alive. This is obviously a top 5 game of the week. And you know what? I have a hot take for y'all. The Lions are starting to scare me with their injuries. The Bills, in some respects, just got embarrassed. Josh Allen is playing at an incredibly high level. I think the Bills walk into Detroit and beat the Lions. I still think the Lions are one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the NFL. I'm just so worried about their injuries. I know Dan Campbell is a master motivator, but at some point you're going to run into at some point it's going to be really difficult to overcome those injuries. I do think the Lions are going to lose at least 1 game before the regular season. I don't think they're finishing 15-1. And even though they're at home, this Bills team is going to be pissed off with the way they lost last week. And because of that, I think they're going to come out and win this game. It very well could be a shootout. I don't see the Lions defense stopping Josh Allen enough. But if you get the Bills defense from last week, the Lions are certainly going to be able to score. I think Sean McDermott and the Bills defense figures it out. They stop the Lions more than the Lions stop them, and I think the Bills win a very, very good, very, very close game. I think this game is going to be so good. In fact, I'm giving it the game of the week: 12-1 versus 10-3. Whatever you're doing, I believe this is a 425 game. What I don't care what you're doing, where you are, you need to sit down and watch this game. This is going to be a phenomenal game. This could be a Super Bowl preview. That's how good I think both of these teams are, and how good and how I think the season is going to shake out. This could very well be a Super Bowl preview. So I highly, highly recommend you watch this game. Find time to watch it. Again, I think Bills win narrowly, but the Lions are at home and they will be the favorite. Another top 5 game of the week sees the Chargers trying to rebound against the division-leading Buccaneers at home. Chargers should win this game. They should be the favorite. They have been playing really well. Their defense, honestly, has looked like a top 3 defense in the NFL this year. Their defense has played lights out, and they're playing. And the defense is the strength of their team. They're playing a team where the offense is the strength, and the defense is needs to get a little bit better and more consistent. So because this is strength on strength, weakness on weakness, it could be a very intriguing matchup. I don't think the Chargers offense is as much of a weakness as the Buccaneers defense is. But I do have a hot take for this game. I think the Buccaneers have a good offensive line. Baker Mayfield in the offense has been playing out of their mind. The Buccaneers have a great running back attack. And because of that, I think the Buccaneers are going to find a way to win this game in Los Angeles, which would be not a good blow for the Chargers. They would move to 8-6 and they'd still be in the playoffs, but it would, in theory, could bring them closer to the teams trying to catch them, which is never a good thing when you are in a playoff spot. You don't want to get closer to those people. So, Chargers Buccaneers. This isn't going to be another close game. I think it's really going to come down to ball control. I think the Chargers really like to play that ball control game. They run the ball, they run play action, they hold it, high time of possession, and then they play really good defense on the back end. And I think the Chargers should be able to have ball control, and I am about. Part of me wants to flip my pick, but I'm going to stick with the Buccaneers because that's what I said first. I think the Buccaneers find enough explosive plays. I think that they show up ready to win this game, and I think the Buccaneers win a very close, very entertaining matchup. The Battle of Pennsylvania, the Eagles versus the Steelers. This is another really good matchup. 11-2 versus 10-3. Philly versus Pittsburgh, and that's kind of a rivalry. Even if they don't see each other all the time, you always want to be the best team in your state, and they aren't too far away from each other. Steelers, led by their defense, don't always trust the offense. The Eagles are elite on both ends of the ball. Eagles are trying to run down the Lions. Steelers are trying to run down the Chiefs, and they also have to still jump over the Bills. Eagles at home, it's never nice to play at the link. And I think the Steelers figure that out. I think the Eagles win this game. They might not be able to win it in their typical fashion. I do think Saquon Barkley is eventually going to get loose, but the Eagles have been bullying a lot of teams at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. The Steelers aren't going to be bullied very easily, especially their defensive front. I still think the Eagles will win this game. I think they're the better team. They're the more consistent team. I trust the Eagles to go in and win this game at home against the Steelers. And I wouldn't put it past the Eagles to win this game by double digits and pull away late. I see like maybe a close first half, and then the Eagles pull away late to win by double digits. I don't think the Steelers are in the same caliber as team as the Eagles are this year. Seahawks, Packers. This is an interesting one. Packers need a rebound after a tough but close loss to the very, very good Lions. Do I think they do it? Yes. No, I think the Packers win this game. They're the better team, in my opinion. I trust the Packers offense, who have been playing lights out. And I think the Packers defense, the defenses are almost kind of a wash to me. It's not easy to play in Seattle, but I think the Packers are going to go out there and they're going to be able to do it. If the Seahawks win this game, it would be a big statement win for them, and I think that it would put them in a phenomenal position to win their division. It might honestly put them in a position where I think they unofficially clinch their division with a win here this week. I think this is has the potential to be a high scoring game with both of these offenses. Highly recommend tuning into it as I do all my top 5 games. There could be a lot of really good games between good teams that are high scoring this week, and this is one of them. Both of these offenses have weapons all over the field. The defenses aren't bad, but they're not elite. They're kind of average to slightly above average. So the offense is definitely the strength in both these teams, which is why I think this game could get high 20s, high 30s, and get turned into a shootout. And I just trust the Packers a little bit more than the Seahawks here. Vikings, Bears, not a lot to say. Vikings been playing well all season, pretty much all year. Great defense. Bears, great defense that has been playing well. They've gave up a lot of points last week, so maybe they're embarrassed and they want to come back and show who they are. Vikings defense is not friendly to a rookie quarterback. I do think this is going to be a closer game than what the Bears played last week. They're not going to win because I've already gone on my Bears rant. I don't need to do it again. The Vikings are a good team. Again, I think this game could be closer. It will be closer than last week. I think this game could actually be similar to that Lions game where the Bears hang around and are there at the end. I don't think they're going to have enough in the end to do it. Vikings to win this game and give the Bears their 10th loss of the season. This is a Monday Night Football game. This is actually a 2 Monday Night Football game. The Vikings, Bears, and the Raiders, Falcons. So we have one of those weird 2 Monday Night Football games. Falcons desperately need a rebound on a 3-game losing streak. They see the division slipping away. This would be a huge spot to pick up a win, and they're playing against a team that's definitely very beatable, a team that you can definitely pick up a win against in the Raiders. And I'm going to pick the Falcons to win. This is a get-right game for them. The Raiders might hang around with the Falcons for a little bit. They might hang around the whole game even. It's kind of funny. The Raiders have been one of the worst teams in the league. They only have 2 wins, and one of them is in Baltimore against the Ravens. That's kind of funny to me because that's a really hard place to win against a good team. But I digress. Falcons should win this game against a clearly inferior team. Hopefully, Kirk Cousins gets right. And I think if Kirk Cousins has another slow start, you're gonna have to make a very, very tough decision to keep Michael Penix out of the game. So you can see a summary of all my picks. There is one thing here. I didn't realize. No, all of it is right. Okay. I thought for a minute I had the Saints winning because at first I did. I talked about that already with Derek Carr. But all of these picks should be my most up-to-date picks. A lot of talking about how I need to have a lot of wins. This week is a tough week because there's a lot of games to me that seem almost like virtual toss-ups that are going to be within a field goal. It's going to be a one-possession game late. A lot of tough games to pick this week. Hopefully, I get most of these toss-up games right. But yeah, just a summary of my picks, what time the games are, just as you get every single week. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. They're starting to get a little bit longer because we have more to talk about. We're going to have 16-game weeks the rest of the way through the NFL season, so we're going to keep having a little bit longer episodes. They were in the 40s. Now they're going to be in the 50s. We might even hit an hour on one of these episodes. Who knows? We're watching the playoffs. The NFL season is almost over, guys. We have 1 month left, 4 games for every team. So especially if you're not a playoff team, I recommend getting out there to watch the games because it's going to be a long time before we get them again. I hope everybody is enjoying the series. Put in the comments, please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. Those are the biggest helps to me. I don't care if it's the same person. I don't care if you're like, well, I don't want to comment every week. I would rather you comment every single week than none at all. Comments, liking, and subscribing to the channel help me out so much. So please, please, please do it. I'm going to keep annoying you guys with that. Go out and watch the NFL before it's too late to do so. I appreciate everybody coming up. Let me know your own records in the comments. Come follow me on X. We're talking about everything. We got a lot going on in the sports world. Let me know if you want me to do any episodes on anything else. I feel like we're kind of in a stretch where I've been doing a lot of NFL, whether it's college or professional. Let me know if there's an episode you want me to do. Let me know if there's a sport we haven't covered, or if there is you want me to update on a sport we've done an episode for recently. Put that kind of stuff in the comments. Everybody, have a great week. Thank you for taking time out of yours to listen. Everybody stay safe. Peace out.